One, two, 1, 2, ready, kick it.
What's going on? It's Tim, High Noons Vinyl. You remember me? I'm that guy who shows up for a couple weeks and then disappears for a month or whatever the case may be. I don't think I've been gone a month, but it's been a couple weeks, I think, and who knows. The last time you guys saw or heard of me, I was nearly dying. No, I had almost nearly died. That's what it was. So I'm still here. The ants are still in the backyard, so I'm here by Fairboatin. You know, it is what it is, but I'm okay. You know, I still have remnants of the ant bites on my leg. I've counted 16 officially, so the ants are evil. So apologies if the camera gets bumped. I got a dog walking around. It's the typical chaos here. That's how we do it. Some stuff I picked up recently, or not so recently, but I finally cleaned and spun and what have you. So there's a couple heavy hitters in here for me. Got a couple needle drops, but I want to try to keep this kind of quick, so let's get into it. First couple, they're not really much that I really need to talk about. Got a decent copy of Cream Wheels of Fire. I thought I actually had this on CD, but it turns out I don't. I have Disraeli Gears on CD. When I saw this at a fairly decent price, excuse the glare, but it's going to have glare no matter which way you slice it. So this was at a decent price, but it's not the cleanest copy. I will upgrade it, but it was just nice to have one, excuse me, in the collection. This one as well, I got this one at, I think I got this one at Foundation. Which was in their $5 bin, but it's still a killer album. Grand Funk's Closer to Home. This one was, if I'm not mistaken, their second release, and the one that you can see there. Just took that out for a second. The one that really kind of started to break them with the song "I'm Your Captain." I mean, everybody knows that one. That was a standard. That's a classic. But this one just really just kind of started to formulate their sound. And I know that they had worked with Terry Knight closely on the sound of "I'm Your Captain," and there was some hesitation on the orchestral piece and stuff like that. But when they heard the final mix, they were completely blown away, and they knew they had something special on their hands. So again, nothing like earth-shatteringly explosive or wow, look what he found. But still, it was, you know, good to have him back in the collection. And another one I picked up. This is the English Beat, Special Beat Service, as we call them here. They are the English Beat. In the UK, they are just the Beat, because we already had a band called the Beat. And sorry, the dog is bringing me a ball, so I must, you know, get it out of her mouth and give it a toss. Hey, multitask here. So this one has they're probably one of their bigger songs that they were known for. Save It for Later. I was going to refresh and regale you with everybody. It's on the IRS, but it's unfortunately blocked. Thanks YouTube for wanting to, you know, not share music. All right, so next up I have this one. This is the Dream Academy's debut album on Warner Brothers. Have the label right there. This one was 85, excuse me. So they were a short-lived band out of the UK. But what's interesting about them is that this was kind of like the who do you know type of situation. So David Gilmour actually helped produce this album and appears on, I think it's at least one track. Yeah, he appears on a song called The Party. as well as Peter Buck from REM. Excuse me. So they kind of had a little bit of a success with the song Life in a Northern Town, which I'm going to give you a sample of here in just a second. Kind of that, I don't know, it's not quite like dreamy pop, I guess, but it definitely is it's a little bit more pop than like a typical like new wave album would be, but it's not quite pop either. It was very unique. So let me give you a kind of refresher for those of you who may have forgot what the song Life in a Northern Town sounds like. So let's check that one out.
Everyone else came down to listen.
And for those of you who know that song well, the next lyric was, he said in 1963, it felt like the world would freeze with John F. Kennedy and the Beatles. Segue, anyone? So I managed to pick this up at Foundation on my last trip where I got all that metal. This was another one out of the $10 bin. Decently clean copy of Yesterday and Today. It's not obviously it's not a butcher block or anything, but you know, it's just one I didn't have in the collection. There's a lot of Beatles stuff that I still need to pick up and add back in, so it's just good to get another one. Very clean, you know, decent cover, clean, played well, so I was glad to add that one back into the mix. And then this one was one that came from my friend in New York on Music and More Vinyl. Is where that came from? I don't remember. Maybe it didn't. Maybe this was just a straight online order somewhere else. But anyway, I've been trying to go back and get some of the U2 stuff that I have on CD on vinyl. And this one, probably my favorite album from them. This is U2's War. I mean, just so many classic hits. Sunday Bloody Sunday, New Year's Day, Two Hearts Beat as One, 40. This was actually, this and Sgt. Pepper's were the two CDs I bought first. Fun fact. No one cares really. But yeah, just decent price, clean copy, couldn't say no. And like I said, I've been trying to go back and get the U2 stuff on vinyl. I know not everyone's a fan. I am, so sorry. That's just the way it is. Next one I want to show, this is actually an upgrade for me. That's Bob James 1. His first four, I think there's 4 on CTI, are just phenomenal stuff. I love the CTI label. It's got some great stuff. This one, I mean, you have just some tremendous tracks. You have A Night on Bald Mountain, you know, Valley of the Shadows. And then for those of you who know this album well, you have Nautilus. And Nautilus was a game changer for hip hop. One of the most sampled songs in hip hop. I mean, it's been done by Wu-Tang and Eric B. and Rakim. I mean, just there's a ridiculous amount of lists of people who have kind of repurposed and chopped that song up. So it was a part of my diet, obviously, as a hip hop fan in the 80s. But that's one of the things that turned me on to Bob James. So this was a much needed upgrade for me. Mine didn't sound that good. Well, it sounded okay, but it just didn't, you know, I wanted something a little bit cleaner. So that is Bob James and Nautilus. Very accessible jazz. I wouldn't call it smooth jazz. It's definitely not a bop, but it has a little bit of a soul element to it. Definitely the keyboards are a featured player because of Bob James, so definitely something worth checking out. All right, so next I kind of I channeled, a little seance here. I channeled my inner Steve Carlson and kind of just did a blind buy, took a punt on something that I thought looked pretty interesting. And this is called Shake What You Brought. So this is actually a celebration. Excuse me, I realize I'm a little too close to the camera. This is actually a celebration and comp of the let me get you a good look at it, of the SSS International label. For those of you who are curious, it's on lovely gold vinyl. So the SSS International label was actually the brainchild of Shelby S. Singleton. I think the middle initial is Sumter. But Shelby S. Singleton Jr.'s SSS International label was his kind of brainchild. So he had actually worked with Smash, which is a subsidiary of Mercury. And he decided to leave there, create his own label, and was just kind of corralling soul acts of like the 60s. He actually even had a sister label that would put out country. It was called Plantation, I believe. And they were known for kind of breaking acts and giving them a shot when some labels kind of turned them down. He ended up getting a fair amount of airplay on his, that's the track listing, with some of his artists. He just had that magic lightning in a bottle. I think even Plantation had the rights to some of the early David Allen Coe releases, so he was definitely a forethinker when it came to music. I stumbled across this just kind of oddly enough, just randomly searching weird things on Amazon on vinyl. That's what you do. And I got this at a killer price. I think it's still up there for under $11. And this comp kicks. So this was what I had played at the top. I'm gonna give you a couple more, but just an interesting label that I somewhat knew of, but in passing, never really listened to anything on it. But sometimes flipping through, I might see a 45 or something like that. Like I said, there's a couple of pictures of what you might see, and just that SSS looked familiar to me. So I decided to take a chance on it, and man, am I ever glad I did. Another interesting fact about him, at least with his label, was that when they released LPs, this is even back in the 60s, they came with a lifetime guarantee. If you had a problem, you got the album, it could be a couple years after you got the album, and it could be whatever reason, skips, maybe you played it too much, you send them a record and $1 and they'd replace it. Thought that was kind of cool. So gonna give you a couple more deep dives on this one. I'm not gonna play you everything. Hopefully it'll inspire you to go check it out yourself. But let's go check out some of the goodies from SSS International.
All right. Dig this. Put your hands together in a groove to a funky beat. You chicks and fellas, dig the sound of a soul street. Like a soul picnic, the old-fashioned way, with turnip green and candy yum and dance to the break of day. Now if you want a lot of friends on the avenue, I ask them if they ever heard of you. They say they saw a girl look just like you, sitting in the village square. I hurried on down just to look for you. You were there in my underwear. Sneaking
Lastly, I've been on a roll with Grail's Most Wanted's, things that are just high on the priority list. And this video, yet again, is no exception. And it just goes to show that, sorry, I just keep playing with my hair. I I'm an idiot. It just goes to show that when you shop your locals, talk to them. So, happened to stop in at a local. Was just was driving past and ran in and picked up something which I have cleaned yet, but I haven't spun. So that'll be coming up in probably my next vinyl find. And I picked something up, and I was wearing a T-shirt at the time because nobody wants to see me with that one. But it just kind of sparked a conversation. And so I happened to say, hey, since we're talking about it, you wouldn't happen to have. And so I was wearing a DJ Shadow shirt, and there's still some holes in my main LP collection for Shadow, and one of them that I was desperately trying to fulfill quickly, because it doesn't look like it's ever going to get a repress anytime soon, is this one, and that is Preemptive Strike. So it turns out that he did, in fact, obviously have a copy, but it wasn't in the store. He actually had it at home. He was pricing some stuff up out of his personal collection that he wasn't really selling, wasn't really listening to anymore. I was thinking about maybe putting them on Discogs, and said, yeah, I actually have a copy of that. When can you get back to the shop? So we talked about it, and he, said, here's a price. And I said, all right, let me think on it. I'll message you tonight. Message him that night, and I said, hey, if you can tell me it's VG Plus or better, you got yourself a deal. Went back on, I think it was Saturday, and then made it happen, because this thing was just killer all around. I mean, it was, I'd say one LP was VG Plus. I'd say the other LP was excellent. The sleeve itself is in just absolute great shape. So this is the second official solo album. I say that because I believe the Uncle project that he did with James Lavelle came out before this. But this doesn't. I say this is like as a caveat. This is an album that was put together, but it's put together of previously released tracks. So it wasn't an album of new material. It features, one of the very first things he ever released on Wax was a track called Influx, and it's like a 13-minute track. And it has different segments and things like that. It has a remix of Organ Donor, which is on his first album. It has a couple different entries into the What Does Your Soul Look Like series, which was very cool, but also a little bit of trivia. Here's the track list. Happen to notice that track on side 2, number 2? That's right, it says High Noon. Yes, this is the album. That is the song that inspired my channel name. That song was just a cooker of a song, lot of great energy, and it resonated with me as one of the albums on one of the songs on the album. So, fun stuff. So, check out High Noon. It's a great track. Actually, check out anything Shadow. As I speak about them enough, I highly recommend them. So, that's it for this one. I've got some other stuff I'm going to be filming in the next day or so, because I feel like I've missed out on so much contest threads. I'm jumping in. Finally got a minute. So, things are crazy here, but they're going to slow down. So, anyway. Chaos in the house. It's storming outside. I see a little one walking past who's waving his arm. Everybody, be safe, be well. Let's survive this chaos and get on the other side. Peace.
No.